Chapter 3, King of the Centipedes. The village women gathered at the spring all looked at Elijah. No, they won't let her go. Elijah drew herself up to her full height. Since she had attracted everyone's attention, she made the most of it. Condima, you tell them what the Thorn said. Tell them why your father won't let you go to the Thorn's house. Condima hung her head and said nothing. She had come to the spring to wash the rice for dinner. She squatted down where the clear water trickled from the bamboo trough into the pool and began to wash the rice. Koket's daughter lifted her full bamboos. No wonder. She hung the bamboo joints full of drinking water by thongs over her shoulder. Who knows what medicine those white people would use on a small child? The women at the spring always seemed to disagree. Condima wondered if their divided talk could be because the village was divided, part Christian and part heathen. If the Thorn offered to take my child, I would be proud and glad. Muket's mother let down her long, dark hair and began soaping it with a bar of red soap. As for the medicine, I think our own medicine men could learn a great deal from the white men. Doesn't your father use the Thorn's rubbing medicine? Koket's daughter set her heavy water bamboos down again. Look here, my friend. She shook her finger under Muket's mother's nose. Have you never heard how the white men steal the brown children of the forest and they are never heard from again? It is a well-known fact that they use their hearts and livers for medicine. After speaking these words, Koket's daughter gathered up her bamboos and left the spring with her head held high, every movement of her body showing her anger. Do not blame her, Muket's mother said, rinsing her hair over and over under the trough. The poor thing has had trouble enough. She has borne 3 fine boy children and lost them all. No wonder she is sour. I do hope that this little baby she has now will live. She waved her hand after the figure of Koket's daughter as she climbed up towards the village with her small brown baby tied to her back. Condima knew that Muket's mother had spoken the truth. Koket's daughter had lost all 3 of her older children, all boys. Her heart had nearly broken with grief over each death. Now she would not allow the new baby out of her sight for fear some harm might come to him. He had grown big enough to laugh and coo and reach for bright objects with his fat little hands. Condima carried her rice home, tied baby Bambi to her back, and went over to Koket's house. Elder sister, Condima's voice called at the door, may I play with the baby? Oh, do come in, the young mother invited Condima. She laid her baby down on the mat. Condima untied baby Bani from her own back and then spent a happy half-hour with the 2 tiny folks. Condima enjoyed playing with the babies. They were too young to notice her blind eye. They loved a soft voice and a gentle touch, and they laughed and gurgled as generously as babies anywhere. Today we go to the Bambulian. The Bambulian is a witch doctor. Koket's daughter began laying out a change of clothing for herself. Also some of the baby's new garments that Teacher Dodd had given her yesterday. No one is sick, Condima said. Why do you go to the Bambulian? It is this way, Koket's daughter smiled. Our baby is a fine, healthy fellow. I am anxious that no harm shall come over him. His father is going to give our water buffalo to the Bambulian so that he may make powerful charms that will protect the baby from all evil things. That is a nice thing to do. Condima patted one of the baby's fat legs. When will you come back? We will come back tomorrow. And will you please ask Chaya to feed our pigs tomorrow morning? The young mother bustled about making preparations to depart. Elder sister, Condima spoke gently, why is it bad for me to go to the Thorn's house? I want to go, more than I want anything else. Koket's daughter paused for a moment. Why don't you come with me to the baboolian? He could make medicine for you. Could he cure my eye, do you think? Condima felt her voice tremble with eagerness. Well, the young woman spoke uncertainly, it would be a hard thing to do. Perhaps he could if your father would give him a couple of water buffalo and his best brass gong. Really? I don't know, Condima. The baboolian has taught me to fear the white man's medicine very much. Father, Condima began when her father sat down to eat his supper, do you think that the baboolian could make medicine for me? Father lifted his eyes with an astonished scowl. Who has been talking to you about the witch doctor? He demanded. Condima looked down at her feet. Koket's daughter is taking her baby over there to have the baboolian make charms and medicines so he won't get sick and die like the rest of her children. Koket's daughter runs too much to the baboolian, Father began eating. It is true that the baboolian makes powerful medicine, but since we began to follow the Jesus teaching, I do not trust charms or witchcraft. I will not allow the baboolian to make medicine for any of my family. The following morning, Mother prepared a plate of warm food for old blind Koket. He would be alone all day. She sent the food by Chaya's hand and told Chaya to be sure and feed the pigs. Why do I hate pigs so much? Chaya made a wry face as she came back up the ladder into the hut. I guess these village pigs are the dirtiest animals in all the world. If it wasn't for pigs, our village would be nice and clean. Condima felt just as her sister did about pigs. None of the Christian people in the Duran village kept pigs, but the heathen families had lots of them, and they ran all over the place. Condima remembered that once the Thorn had given a little packet of flower seeds to Chaya and her. They had planted the seeds so carefully, and even built a little fence around the plants. But the pigs broke down the fence and rooted out every little green shoot. From that day, both Condima and her sister hated pigs more than anything else. Chaya could hardly bear to feed the creatures, even though Mother insisted that she must be courteous to her neighbors. Another day passed. Chaya looked out the window of their hut into the late afternoon sunshine. The daughter of Koket has come back, she said. I will run over and see what charms she has brought. Chaya hurried down the ladder. Condima started to follow her. Then she turned back with a sad, heavy feeling in her chest. Mother looked at Condima. Why don't you go too? She asked, and her eyes looked warm and kind. No, Mother, many people will come to see the charms and to talk, and they will all stare at my eye. I don't want to go. In about a half an hour, Chaya returned, breathless with excitement. Oh, Mother, Daddy, may I go tomorrow to hunt centipedes? Father and Mother looked at each other in surprise. Why do you want to hunt centipedes? Mother asked. The baboolian gave Koket's daughter 3 powerful charms for the baby, Chaya began, but none of them will be any good unless they can find a centipede with rainbow colors on its back, and it must be as big as this. She measured off a full 12 inches on her slender arm. Did they give the baboolian their water buffalo? Father inquired. Oh, Father, of course they did. How would he be willing to make all those charms unless he liked the water buffalo? But, child, Father stood up and looked down at Chaya. What is the use of a centipede? What will they do with it? Chaya returned her father's gaze with steady courage. That is a secret, Father. They will tell no one. But Koket's daughter did say that her husband will give a roll of fine black cloth to whoever finds the best centipede. I suppose all the village children will hunt centipedes tomorrow. Very likely no one in the village will do anything else." Mother looked disgusted. "You may go tomorrow, but one day is enough to spend at such silly business." "May Condima go too?" Chalya looked at her little sister. "Yes, I insist that she go. I shan't let you go without her." Father spoke in a firm voice, but he smiled at Condima as he picked baby Bonnie up and tossed him into the air. On the following morning, as Mother had thought, every child in the village hunted centipedes. They turned over every log in the clearing. Some of the braver children even entered the edge of the jungle to tear bark from old trees. Some of the men joined in the hunt, for any of them would be glad to have a roll of fine black cloth. The day closed with many centipedes found. They were large and small, light and dark, of all lengths and colors common to centipedes. Galoon, the husband of Koket's daughter, prepared to take them to the Babulian. Mooket begged to go with them, and Galoon allowed Mooket to carry the basket of centipedes. Condima watched them until they disappeared over the top of the hill. "How I wish I could have been a boy," Condima said. "I would love to hear what the Babulian will say when he sees a whole basket full of centipedes." Some hours later the two came back. Mooket swung the empty basket at his side. Galoon looked tired. "Tell us, what did the Babulian say?" The children pounced on Mooket before he could reach his own doorway. He didn't hurry much. Perhaps he wanted to tell his story. "The Babulian said that none of the centipedes we brought were any good. He just waved his hand like this." Mooket made a broad sweep with both brown hands, and he said, "Take these miserable things away. Not one of them is suitable. You must find the king of the centipedes. No other will do." "What did you do with the whole basket of centipedes?" Elijah lifted the empty basket from Mooket's side. "Oh, I just emptied them under the Babulian's house. They were of no value." "Oh, Mooket," Condima clapped her hands. "Then we will have to hunt again. Maybe I will find the king of the centipedes." The next day fewer people joined in the hunt. On the third day only 3 continued. Galoon raised the reward to 2 rolls of fine black cloth and a brass gong. This promise of riches encouraged the people, and a larger crowd joined the search on the 4th day. By this time the whole area around Duran village had been well searched. Mooket's mother announced that their family would go to the rice field that day. The field had been newly cleared and lay about a mile from the village. Condima begged to go along, and Father allowed her to go with Mooket. She had often gone with other village families to their rice fields. Often several village children went along to a new rice field. The small folks could do many things to help, but on this day the small folks did not intend to do anything but hunt for the king of the centipedes. A thought flitted across Condima's mind. She wondered if Christian people should help heathen people look for a witch doctor's charm. The thought troubled her only for a moment. Every Christian family in the village had joined in the hunt. Mooket and Condima turned over all the small logs in the clearing. "Father, help us turn this big log." Mooket tugged at a thick slab of black, wet-looking wood. Swoosh! Over the log went with a plop. Under it lay the largest centipede of any that they had ever seen. "Look, look, Father, the king of the centipedes!" Mooket darted after the creature, now alert and trying to slither off under another log. He headed the centipede off, and his father plumped a piece of bark down over it until he could think of some way to capture it alive without injury. The babulian had said that the centipede must be perfect. When the planters returned to the village that afternoon, Mookit carried a tight bark bundle. He headed straight for the house of Kookit. "Oh, Mookit, what have you got in that package?" Elijah hurried up to them. Several other children joined her. Mookit spoke not a word to any of them. He stood at Kookit's door and called, "Galoon, Galoon, come out." Galoon's shaggy head appeared in the door. "I have brought the king of the centipedes." Mookit spoke like a king himself. Kandima's heart swelled with pride because she had had a small part in finding the big centipede too. The excitement of the gathering crowd mounted by the second. Galoon came down the ladder and took the bark bundle from Mookit's hand. He lifted down a deep, tight basket from the outside wall of the hut and opened the package over the big basket. The evening sunlight fell on an enormous centipede nearly 15 inches long. Its dark body shone with rainbow colors in the slanting light. A cry of admiration and wonder burst from every person who looked at the creature. What a centipede! Truly the king of them all. Galoon rubbed his hands together with delight and satisfaction. "We will carry it to the babulian tomorrow, Mookit," Galoon assured the small boy. "If he says it is good, you shall have your 2 rolls of fine black cloth and the brass gong." Mookit returned to his own house with his parents and covered with honor and glory. Through Kandima's dreams that night marched the king of the centipedes. He stood taller than a water buffalo, and she tried to count his legs. But always more and more legs came along, and she couldn't count them all. The next morning, Gulan and Mookit carried the centipede to the babulian's house. They came home in the late afternoon. When Mookit came out of Gulan's door, he carried 2 rolls of fine black cloth and a brass gong. His face shone like the full moon. The babulian liked the centipede. He said that he had never seen so big a one himself. Mookit told Kandima as they sat together on the ladder of his hut. The babulian's eyes glittered, and he rubbed his hands together like this. Mookit bent over and bared his teeth and mimicked the babulian. He told Galoon to grind the centipede between 2 stones until it was a soft paste. Then he must make a broth of it and feed it all to the baby. The babulian says that after the baby has eaten such powerful medicine, no harm can ever come to him. Kandima heard the noise of 2 heavy grinding stones behind Kookit's hut. "I think Gulan is grinding the centipede now," she shuddered. Teacher Dodd had been visiting a neighboring village for a few days. Kandima saw him return just as the sun went down. She wanted to tell him about the centipede, but dark night had come down by the time she and Mookit finished talking. She could see no light in Dodd's hut. He must have been tired, and he had gone to bed already. Kandima said to Mookit, "I will get up early and be the first one to tell him." So morning found Kandima sitting on her ladder waiting when Teacher Dodd went down the path to the spring. His towel and soap and toothbrush were all rolled together under his arm. He called a cheerful good morning as he passed. Kandima started to run after him. At that moment a loud wailing broke out in Kookit's hut. Dodd dropped his towel and all the things in it. He sprang through the door. "Adu, adu, my child, my child!" Kandima knew the voice belonged to Kookit's daughter. She crept up the ladder and peeked in. Kookit's daughter sat on the floor with her dead baby cradled in her arms. Her long black hair hung in wild confusion around her pale and terror-stricken face. Condima began to wail too. Within a few minutes the whole village had gathered, and the cries of anguish that grew louder every minute would have melted the heart of the Babulian himself. Little by little, Teacher Dodd drew the story from Galoon. He had fed the centipede broth to the baby the night before, and the baby had gone to sleep at once. Morning had already come when they found the baby dead under his little blanket. Dodd's tears choked his voice as he tried to comfort the parents. He blamed himself for being away. "I could have kept this terrible thing from happening," he said over and over again. With tender sympathy, the Christian villagers comforted the grieving parents. Dodd buried the baby in a grassy spot near the crown of the hill. "My poor suffering friends," Dodd spoke to Galoon and his wife as he sat with them that evening, "come with us and follow Jesus. He loved the little children. He will give back your little ones in the resurrection day. Forsake the hard way of witchcraft and find peace to your hearts." All the neighbors bowed their heads and wept for the grief of the young parents who had lost their fourth son. So it came about that from that day the daughter of Kokot and Gulan, her husband, began to listen to the Christian teaching. Since their huts were close together, Kokot's daughter came often to Condima's house. She found comfort in playing with baby Bonnie. Little by little she revived from her deep sorrow, and she talked much with Mother about the Jesus teaching.